So it's no secret that I wrote my own writing program for my middle schoolers. And today I want to talk about the one thing that was the most important thing for me in my program that was missing from all of these other writing programs that I've been researching. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened when I became a published author and how it influenced this writing program. And I just need to tell you some stuff and be a little bit vulnerable with this one today. So stick around. Hi, I'm Robin Mellum, children's book author with Disney Hyperion and HarperCollins. I'm also a middle school teacher and I teach writing. And I have created my own entire writing program. And this was based on the fact that I left the classroom to go basically guide tour around the country with the novels that I had written. I have 10 books written. And the thing is that the process of getting there was incredibly difficult. And it took me 10 years of trying to teach myself how to write a novel before I ever got published. I was going to groups, I was going to every conference I could find, I read every book I could find. So once I got published, and I suddenly was thrust into this world of having a professional editor and a whole team of people help me get this draft into novel format. So here's what I found. I woefully underprepared for what I was about to go into. And in some ways it kind of made me not mad, but like disappointed that over the years, none of my schooling had prepared me for any of this stuff related to writing. When I got my teaching degree in Georgia, went to University of Georgia, and I got my first job in fifth grade in Atlanta in 1992. I wrote that up. I had never received any teaching training in how to teach writing. I was winging it completely in the early 90s. And you'll see in my ebook, if you download that, I talk about how, like, that first year, basically all my writing assignments that we did were like art projects. I was like, let's use glitter and let's put things up on the wall and let's use receipt paper for our tall tales and paper bags and paper plates and all this stuff. So it's just like really dumb art is all I was doing. But then somewhere in there, I had read this book out loud to them. And I read Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Lewis Sacker. Love it. My kids were like so enthralled. They loved that book. And that was the book that like kicked me into, hey, I could write fun stuff like that. I could do this. I have that skill. It's just something I love to do. And I told them I would like to write something like Lois Sacker did with Sideways Story. And they were like, yeah, yeah. So that, without anybody really even telling me, I had them all get a spiral notebook. We just started writing. We timed ourselves. And that's where, there's some stuff that was in my very first book that came from those first years when I was teaching. Fast forward, I then get my first offer for a book and I start going through the process of being edited. Oh my gosh, I was not even anywhere close to being able to handle what they were expecting. And part of it had to do with deadlines and the amount of work that went into it, and then the amount of focus and everything that went into it. It's unbelievable the amount. So I'm going to show you some stuff of what we have to do, and then that'll help kind of inform why I changed my program the way I did. So I'll show you a few books. So this was my latest one called Confessions from the Principal's Kid. My mom was principal of my school, so that's a whole therapy session. But I wanted to show you, this one was published by Houghton Mifflin, who has now since been bought out. So they're like parts of that one publisher that pretty much owns everything now. But that's like a whole nother video. So I wanted to show you, you can't really see this on the screen, but I just wanted to show you some stuff. The editors go through and they make general style punctuation sheets that we all agree upon, so that like not every type of punctuation is the same with every single book. It's part of it has to do with style. So we have to come to an agreement on how we're going to use end dashes. What are we going to do after these colons? If I say to, are we going to use the comma or not? Because the character, it all depends on who the character is and stuff. So we all kind of have to agree on this so that all the style is exactly the same from editor to editor because I have my main editor, then we have copy editors, and we go through like several rounds with different copy editors to catch everything. And then they list out all of the names of every place, person, anything that's in the book so that we can all agree on the spelling of it and the capitalization of it. And we refer to this all throughout the revision process. And then this one, this was really interesting. This is some editor goes through and finds all the names of all the characters in the book so that we can track who they are, how they're related, how their names are spelled. Is it confusing? Like it's just all these papers and all these things that you have to keep track of. And one of the main things that they had to do for me, because I have a problem with this, is a timeline, which is trying to remember like what day of the week it is. So somebody went through and started a timeline for me of what happens in this chapter. And then I went through and labeled what day of the week it was so that everything kind of lands perfectly on the correct date. Sometimes I'll just throw in Saturday, or blah, 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 and I'm not really thinking about it because I'm trying to write with style and all this. So this was all overwhelming. And I can't imagine how overwhelming it is for our students when we start doing all of this stuff with deadlines and everything. But I wanted to make my program something that was fun for them and something that would make that revising process not so daunting. And I'm going to show you one other thing when it comes to like daunting revisions. This is another book that I did called The Pages Between Us. I did this with my co-writing partner, Lindsay Levitt, who's amazing. And I will have her on here sometime. You guys are going to be so excited to meet her. She has fantastic ideas on how to teach things to your students about writing. She used to be a teacher too. Love her. So this is one of the letters that we got from HarperCollins when Lindsay and I were writing these books together. And I just wanted to point out, like, it's 6-7 single space pages long. And then as we go, then we get on the telephone and then we add all of these other remarks along the side here of all the things that we're going to change and fix. And then, oh, this conversation got even deeper. And now we're going to change all of these things. I have no idea if you can see this. But anyway, it's a lot, is basically what I'm trying to say. And it was almost just as much work when I did my picture book. My picture book looks like this, called Hannah Sparkles. And that process was really daunting as well. To me, the whole process of doing this felt like as intense as having a baby, as intense of like climbing the highest mountain you could possibly climb, because it stretches you to these levels that you never thought you could get to. And I'd never been pushed that way. I didn't really have writing stamina. I didn't have that much confidence because it took me 10 years to get to this point. And it would take me often 2 years to write a novel, which would then maybe get sold or maybe not get sold. And then when I did get it sold, it was like, great, now we're going to revise the whole thing. And you have 8 weeks. And then the next round, we have 2 weeks. And then you have 1 week. And so it was like, I can't do that. How could I possibly do that? But I really wished that there was a way for me to not have to feel that way. For students who are coming up to not have to feel like they have no stamina, that this is too much, or else we're not going to get these great pieces of work out of them if we focus far too much on these products of these like formulaic essays. So if we can get them the confidence, which editors are amazing at, they know how to give feedback in a way that you repeat the things that they love and that you tweak the things that they want you to tweak. And the language that they use is fantastic. And these are all terms and stuff that I will be teaching you guys through all of these videos. So I want to share with you what I did on my website that I recently created. The reason why I want to show you is because as I created the program, I discovered that when I was doing research on other writing programs, there was one thing that was missing. And it was like, we talk about all these other concepts and ideas about writing, right? We talk about, oh, well, they need to have voice and then they need to have their complexity and they need to be able to do a thesis and blah, blah, blah. But there's one huge thing that's missing and it's not talked about in any of these programs. So I revamped my program completely. And that is the main focus, the main push. And everything else kind of falls into place from there. So I'm going to show you what's on my website and one piece of research that backed this up that I discovered when I was doing research for my last video. So I will instruct you to go back and watch that video too, because you're going to want to see the research on evidence-based writing instruction. So let's go to my screen.
Okay, so here is my website and here is my giant head. We could just move on from that. I'm just going to show you a couple parts in here in case you ever wanted to share this with the other teachers or your administration or instructional coaches or anything. There's information in here about my background and how this all came to be. And sorry to make you dizzy, but I'm going to scroll down here and show you a part that I want you to see. We talk about voice because you guys know that's my big thing. And then this gets into student leaders, how that's set up, how that it's focused on 6 skills, not 200, which is overwhelming. And then how we repeat them throughout the year and how I deconstruct an essay. And then the essential components to it, it's kind of broken down into 4 things for the program: student leaders, power lessons, voice by design. That's super important. It's not just choice. And then diamond mining. These are super important over here. And I realized this when I started my program because there was a problem. It wasn't working. The lessons we were doing wasn't getting the results you wanted. And I realized there was one thing that was there. And some teachers will say, maybe the kids just need to know parts of speech. They don't even really understand what a noun and a verb and all that is. I agree. But I think it goes back even earlier before that. And so to me, this is the heart of the problem. And here's my little picture I want to share with you. Motivation. It absolutely is motivation. And unfortunately, it has to do like writing. When we teach writing is totally different from any other subject. It just is. And motivation and confidence and how we feel about ourselves is a huge part of this. And I actually, for my website, I decided to have, I had someone create this graphic for me because it was that important. I wanted something to catch people's attention. This is what this program is about. I wanted it to be colorful and joyful. I wanted it to be sort of like SpongeBob-like, but not SpongeBob. And he did a great job with it. And it's just, this is what this program is about. So with that, I wanted to share with you up over here. A couple of videos ago, I showed you this article from the Hetchinger report. If you scroll down here, please don't get dizzy, but I'm going to show you something real quick. Let me just go down here a bit toward the end. Okay. So here in all of their findings, this is what they came up with. The ones that were working, the classes were exciting, social, and noisy. Motivation seems to be the key. If the students love to write because their peers as well their teachers are eager to see what they have to say, then they will write with energy and pleasure. And this is important right here. Perhaps more than any other subject, writing demands a supportive environment. That's huge. I mean, that is just what it is. And I completely agree with that. And this is where my heart is. And this is what I do to get this program up and off the ground. And it has to do a lot with the 3rd and 4th part of the program, choice by design. It's not just, you don't motivate kids just by saying, you can write whatever you want to write. Otherwise, our kids would be super motivated because that would be so easy if we could just tell them to write what they want to write and then it's done. And it's just not working that way. So I come up with all these different ways and to motivate them. Student leaders, we use trios, we use diamond mining, all these things set up so that they feel like it's their program and they are in charge. And then in this one, I'll show you this. They'll pull a fist bump. I promise. If you start doing this, they get so excited. And I just want to show you at the bottom, there's some, if you go to the website, if we share it with someone, you can grab the ebook or the student guides, and then you can see, you can read the introduction for free. So you could go and get that sent to you. If you haven't read the introduction to my ebook, go check it out. And then, sorry, I'm going to go down the bottom here. Here are some links for you guys to join in. If you haven't joined in on my Facebook group, make sure you click on that. Come on over. So read the ebook and all that, but leave me any comments below about how do you feel about motivation? Is that part of what you would use in your writing program? Are you seeing that as a necessary part of this? All right. I appreciate you stopping by and I will see you in the next video.